Hey guys, welcome to Whisktakers. My name is Levin, and today we'll be taking a look at a rather classic guild battle strategy now revamped. Before we get started on the video, I'll answer some frequently asked questions that we get in the comments. Since there's been an influx of new people in this community, I'd like to say a welcome and thanks for being here. Make sure to join our Discord server where we can help answer more of your questions and enjoy the game together. If you want to go straight to looking at the strat, skip to the timestamps labeled down in the description box below. The first question we frequently get is the new cookie good for guild battles? Short answer is no. Long answer, not always. This is because not all cookies have the same utility that can be good or viable in guild battles. If a new cookie is good for guild battle, expect a new video or some kind of guide being spread in our Discord server within the first month of the update. This past week, we've seen people comment, can pumpkin pie replace Lico in guild battle? And to answer that, it's unfortunately a no. Next up is, how do I improve my damage? Or why can't I do the same damage even when I copy the video word for word? The answer is, every player's progress is not the same. We here at Whisktakers have been playing since the game launched, and some of us are big spenders. Hence, we have progress in terms of upgrades a lot further than most other players. A very general tip for improving your damage is to max out all of your landmarks. Focus on cookie bonds and make sure to do your research labs. All of these can rarely be rushed, so just take your time and eventually you'll hit big numbers very soon. So that's all for the questions. I just wanted to really quickly address some FAQs for all the new people here. Now let's go back to the actual video. In one of our previous videos, we talked about the use of Black Raisin in guild battles before. She was then phased out when Poison Mushroom and Shroom VS Shark came along. With the Halloween update, the game has introduced a few minor changes that has brought Black Raisin back to the table of discussion. We'll go into this in detail later when we break down how the strat works. So let's look at how to set up Black Raisin Cookie for your guild battle. To set up Black Raisin, it's actually much easier than setting up Shroomy. So you can choose to level up Black Raisin instead of Shroomy, since Black Raisin does have more utility than Shroomy in basically all game modes. For toppings, you only really need to focus on packing as much attack as possible. You will need just around 4% cooldown if you are struggling to get this strat right. But otherwise, just put full attack toppings with maybe a few cooldown substats to make this easier for you. Of course, that goes without saying that your research lab for ambush attack should be as high as possible, just to maximize her damage output. You can choose to replace either Shroom VS Shark or Shroomy in this comp, but otherwise, here's a quick run through of your team. Here I have Attack Dark Chocolate Cookie with some cooldown subs, Shroomy with attack toppings but chunky defensive substats, Lico with the cooldown build, Vamp with lots of attack and crit percent substats, and of course Black Raisin Cookie. Treasures are your typical scroll, slingshot, and a maxed out clock. If you do not have clock maxed, this video is not for you, and you should click the video card on the upper right corner right now. Now that we've gone over the team setup, we'll look at how a successful run should look like. So that was a successful run using Black Raisin Cookie. Let's take a closer look and see how you can replicate this yourself. For this tutorial, we'll be doing the semi-auto style, but this can be easily done manually if you just follow along. First, you want to put Lico on timer for his very first cast. Put him back on timer after he's finished casting. For our second cast, this is where things get a little bit tricky and might affect the success rate of your runs. You want to cast DC, but the timing highly depends on yourself. Since through testing with our own members, everyone's timings are slightly different for successful runs. There are many different timings, but for reference, we use either this pillar or the slingshot timer method. In our past videos, we've always cast DC when the backlane reaches the pillar, but now you can cast earlier, and depending on your timings, it might guarantee success or completely fail your runs. However, we will say here that early DC cast is better for those who slingshot higher than level 10, since casting DC early might mean that you miss out on one of the debuff hits. For now, for the sake of this tutorial, we will be casting DC when the pillar is in between your mid lane and back lane cookies. If you're using Shroomy, cast Shroomy at around 3 or 4 o'clock on slingshot. Cast earlier if you are doing the safe Shroom strat. If you're using Shark, cast Shark and Vamp both at the same time at around 7 or 8 o'clock. For Black Raisin, cast her at 11 o'clock if you do not have any cooldown on her. Or you can cast her at the same time as Slingshot if you have any amount of cooldown on her. At this time, your Liko should also be casted, so if you are doing this manually, casting Black Raisin at 11 o'clock might work better for you. After Liko has casted the second time, put him back on timer. For this strat to work optimally, your Liko has to survive the second cast, so if your Liko isn't surviving, you might want to tweak your DC cast timings, or work on toppings and Magic Lab researches to ensure that he survives consistently. From here, you'll want to start by casting DC just as these circles are blinking the second time. This will ensure the best interruption timing. However, you can try yourself and see how early or how late you can cast to make sure that DC is lifting both minions, thus cancelling their attacks and delaying them from killing your cookies. This is also where your first DC cast will affect how he moves. If you cast it earlier, then he'll be moving towards the right minion. If you cast it late, he will then move to the left minion. After that, you just hit all of your cookies whenever they're off cooldown. It's also good to note here that if you have a super tanky Liko, it is possible for his third bolt to hit this minion, buying you extra time with the small bit of knockback. If you're using Shroomy, you can try to delay either Vamp or Black Raisin to get some extra ticks of poison damage before the minions or Dragon Breath completely wipe out your team. If you're still confused about anything that was covered just now, feel free to click back on the timestamp and rewatch it, or try following the next section, where we're going over the entire process, but in less detail and more simple instructions. First, cast Liko whenever he's off cooldown. Cast DC on one of these zones, which can also be different for everyone. Cast Shroom at 3 o'clock sling. At 8 o'clock, cast Vamp and Sharky at the same time. Cast Black Raisin at 11 o'clock and make sure to activate Slingshot. Cast DC again when the magic circles just start to blink the second time. Then cast the rest of your cookies whenever their cooldowns are up, including Slingshot. For most seasoned players, you'll be looking at similar damage numbers with Sharky and Shroom. But if you're a newer player who doesn't want to invest in Shroomy because of their low utility in other game modes, Black Raisin is a very good choice, since she does have good utility in basically all game modes. Either way, if you're able to follow the strat, it's a very easy 4 mil minimum and an average 5 mil for most players. For the sake of comparison, I'll play a short side-by-side video of using Sharky and Shroomy with Black Raisin, and you can kind of study the timings for both comps. They're essentially the same, with only difference being the timings of the different cookies. Let's not waste more time and on with the comparison. So, that was how to use Black Raisin in guild battles. It's been a while since guild battle really got any fresh material to work with, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video anyway. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to leave them down in the comment section, or join our Discord server, where we have community members that are able to help out with any of your burning questions. Come hang out and just vibe, while we all enjoy the game together. Whisktakers is also always open for recruitment, so simply join the server, go to our applications channel, and submit an application by following the format given in our pinned messages. That's all that we have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you around.